changing in real time. The question is, are you watching it happen or are you making it happen? Welcome to Career Week 2026. I'm Caro, content lead at Globant Enterprise AI. For the past 5 years, I've been dedicated to one goal, helping professionals turn AI into their greatest competitive advantage. My work is about ensuring technology elevates human creativity, helping you reach heights you once thought were impossible. This year, we aren't playing by the old rules. We brought together a group of leaders to talk about the future of work and how to transform your career. Today, our sessions will be held in English and will also feature a special talk in Portuguese. But the journey doesn't end here. We will wrap up Career Week tomorrow with 5 sessions entirely in Spanish. Are you ready to rewrite your story? Let's go. We're starting with Tech and Career Trends 2026. This session dives into the move from hype to execution, looking at how agentic AI and quantum tech are reshaping careers and what the industry expects from professionals today. It provides actionable insights from Globant's latest trends report to help both technical and non-technical workers identify the essential skills needed to remain competitive in an evolving market. Joining us for this global panel, we have an outstanding group of leaders. Shuri Maya, People Manager for North America at Globant with extensive experience leading people strategy, governance, and risk across the US, Europe, and Brazil. Shuri focuses on helping organizations scale responsibly by aligning human capital strategy with enterprise transformation. Agustin Huerta, SVP of Digital Innovation at Globant. With more than 20 years in the software industry, Agustin is responsible for monitoring new technological trends, understanding their impact on customers, and preparing organizations to thrive in an evolving landscape. Ritesh Menon, Vice President of Strategy and Innovation at Globant. With over 20 years of experience driving enterprise-scale transformation, Ritesh operates at the intersection of AI strategy and business execution, partnering with CXOs to translate emerging tech into measurable outcomes. Daniel Kasawiki, Tech Director at Globant with experience leading over 2,000 technical professionals in Brazil and defining strategic technology roadmaps aligned with corporate objectives. Join us and learn from these industry powerhouses. Many people wait for the perfect moment to arrive, but the truth is, opportunities are taken. We have openings right now for those who want to stop imagining the future and start creating it. Check out the link and take the step that can change the course of your career today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel on tech and career trends in 2026. We're at a very specific moment in history, not just a technology shift, but a system shift. AI is moving from tools to platforms, from co-pilots to agents, and from experimentation to infrastructure. Conversations around AGI, autonomy, and acceleration are no longer theoretical. They're shaping how work is designed, how decisions are made, and how value is created. At the same time, careers are being quietly rewritten. Roles are less static, skills half-life shrinking, titles matter less where you sit in the value chain. And in a VUCA world defined by volatility, uncertainty, complexities, and ambiguity, adaptability is no longer a soft skill, it's a survival skill. Today's conversations is grounded in Globant's 2026 Tech Trends Report, which frames 2026 as the year we move decisively from hype to execution. This is the moment where organizations and professionals are expected to prove impact, not just promise innovation. This is about predicting the future perfectly. It's about understanding direction, trajectory, and where opportunity concentrates. A little bit about me. I'm Yuri Maya, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. I'm a global people and culture leader with a background spanning HR, psychology, governance, and large scale transformation across highly regulated and fast moving environments. My work sits at the transaction of people, technology, and execution, helping organizations move from strategy to action while keeping leadership, ethics, and the employee experience front and center. I'm particularly focused on how AI, emerging tech, and shifting skills demands are reshaping careers and what leaders need to do differently to navigate a VUCA reality. I'm excited to guide today's discussion and learn a little side all of you. And to start off this panel, I wanted to introduce you a few of the folks on this call here today. So, Ratish, over to you.
Uh, Hey everybody, my name is Ritesh Menon and I lead the Trends Observatory team here at Globant, where we bridge emerging technology trends with real business needs through thought leadership and business focus MVPs. I've been with Globant for over a decade now, working across a wide spectrum of technologies and industries. And this really long journey has shaped my belief that innovation is not just about chasing technology, but about using it meaningfully to solve real business problems. So that's what me.
Our next speaker, I wanted to introduce you, Mr. Augustine. Augustine, over to you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Yuri, for introducing me. It's great to be here with all of you. My name is Agustin Huerta. I'm an SVP of Digital Innovation at Globant. I have led many of the most innovative technology transformations internally in the company and for our customers. I led initiatives around AI, quantum computing, robotics in the past. And I'm the longer tenure guy in this call. I've been at the company for 16 years already. So it's a pleasure to be, again, participating on these kind of events that we do.
Thank you, Augustine. Our next panelist on this call is Mr. Daniel, who's also from my country, Brazil. So, oi, over to you, Daniel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daniel. I'm a tech part of one of the tech partners at Solid TDC, right? I have extensive experience leading engineering, data, and AI teams, focused on execution, scalability, and career evolution. My work sits at the intersection of technology strategy, real-world delivery, and talent development. I do help and also, right, companies build reliable systems and empower teams that sustain continuous innovation. I'm Globant at like almost 7 years. So yeah, I'm the youngest here.
So thank you, team. So moving on, I wanted to kickstart this panel, and I want to kick it off to Ratish. One of my first questions, Ratish, is, and I'll start with you. The report positions 2026 as the proof year, the moment that AI moves from experimentation to execution. Now, if 2026 is the year organizations have to move from hype to execution, what does that shift actually look like in practice?
I believe in practice the shift from AI hype to execution looks like a move from experimentation to reliance. Uh, Before AI lived at the periphery of the organizations, companies explored it, showcased it, proved it could work, but it remained optional. In 2026, I strongly believe that maturity looks more consequential. AI gets woven into the fabric of the business. It is embedded in real workflows, trusted to act within guardrails, and judged by the impact it creates. So the conversation changes from look, here's what our AI can do, to here's how it has tangibly improved speed, efficiency, and decision making, with clear ownership and governance. And I believe that in my mind, that's when AI stops being eye-catching and starts being indispensable.
And when you say that term, AI stops being eye-catching and becomes indispensable, what are things that, leaders, individuals of all levels in an organization, those entering organizations, understanding things like VUCA exists, what are the things that they can do now to really have, the ability to have those eye-catching moments?
Well, I think you need to hold whatever implementations that you're doing and accountable to really tangible business results, right? There have to be KPIs defined to it. Make sure that whatever AI implementations that you're doing are moving beyond pilots, because and it kind of tested in real world production environments, which is scalable with large amounts of data. There is no running away from that. What we've seen in the past is that most of the AI projects kind of failed in the pilot stage, or rather POC stage. They really had never lived up to production systems because they were really stress test against what happens in the real world. So I think what we'll see from now on in 2026 is that you will have clearly defined KPIs, and these systems that you create will be judged against those KPIs, whether they live up to these expectations or not. So there's no running away from it now.
Thank you, Ratish. Building on from that question, I want to take the next question over to Daniel. Daniel, I come to you next. The report makes a strong statement that AI is the platform, not the product. From a career perspective, what does that actually change about how people should think about technology in their roles? And if someone is asking themselves, how do I stay valuable? What's the simplest way to answer that in 2026? Building off from what Ratish said when we understood KPIs and some of the other items he mentioned.
Well, that's a very nice question, because it's the changes in your mindset, right? It's, even it's not the tool, it's something part of the real product, right? So it comes from knowing to integrate how AI comes into the real business workflows, right? So and for career-wise, the most resilient careers will belong to people who understand the business, the process, and where AI creates real value.
That's a really important point, both Ratish and Daniel. If AI is the platform, then career value shifts away from just knowing these tools and towards how work is actually defined. Not the work now, but also the work for the future to come. And it's how we stay connected and how we execute. It's less about using AI and more about integrating it into the real workflows and outcomes. With that framing, I think it's important for us to dive deep, Daniel, and I'll come back to you on one of the first major trends that I think we should cover here today, which is agentic AI. When we talk about agentic AI, what do we actually mean? In the simplest terms, what makes it different from the kind of chatbots people might already be used to at work, using it at work, and explain it like you're describing it to a colleague who only knows ChatGPT.
Well, bottom line, chatbots answer questions. Agentic AI does the work. Well, it understands a goal, breaks into tasks, and makes intermediate decision, and then acts, often without constant human input. So if you want an example about that, it's not tell me how to do it, but do it, monitor, and alerting me if something goes off track.
That's a very powerful distinction. I think ultimately, once AI starts acting inside, workflows, it changes how the work is structured, and it also changes where human judgment, accountability, and this decision making really matter. And that brings us to an important question many people have asked, are asking, and will continue to ask, especially those who don't consider themselves very technical. If AI is becoming more agentic, the question isn't whether people can contribute, it's how. And I think, I want to bring this question over to August.
Well, if you, I actually saw a TikTok this morning, and someone was discussing about it. Yes, and the thing is, what we are seeing right now with agents are very capable of planning on certain tasks that we give them tools to execute. Yes, and last week the conversation was around, hey, SaaS platforms are dead. Well, maybe more like their current business model is dead, where they are just relying on humans performing the task, and they will need to understand that now they will have agents running part of the task, even agents between companies communicating to each other, that the thinking, yes, of what needs to be done is still a human capability. Yes, if you want an agent, for example, to develop a software solution, you need to be able to describe very well which is the tool, the work to be done. Yes, and that is still a human capability. Yes, you cannot just rely on ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools to give you the proper description. because it can bring a lot of, global knowledge, but how your business operates, how your organization operates, or how our customers, in our case, operate is knowledge that we have, yes, and that we translate to these agents so that they can perform their job. Yes, that skill is one of the most important to keep on developing right now, on how to be able to give explainability of our world to these agents.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, and I
sorry.
wanted to give a chance for, both Daniel or Ratish to comment, because this is a very important point. If AI is becoming more agentic, the question isn't whether people can contribute, it's how. And, over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, sorry. Well, AI feel less because of code again. It's more about the clear process, and that's the bit of our career from now on. That's what we need to focus on, and understanding the full process. Make sense?
Over to you, Ratish.
Yeah, I think I'll add to what Agus mentioned, right? So you still require that human involvement. And I think in going forward, what you would require more than your technical skills is your domain expertise, your ability to kind of clarify the ideas that you have and extract the maximum that you can get out of these agentic systems. If you let these systems run by themselves, it's going to be chaotic, right? So, and you understand the business, you understand what is expected out of it. You need to be able to explain it clearly to the systems and kind of orchestrate them, right? So you still need to manage AI. And I believe that kind of management layer that humans bring in is not going to get removed anytime sooner.
My biggest takeaway from what you all mentioned is that AI fails less because of the code and more because of unclear processes. And when there's the lack of human oversight, it can lead to these particular failures. This is a critical takeaway, team. And what the report makes clear is that agentic AI doesn't succeed because the models alone. It succeeds because organizations get use cases right, data ready, right? And data today is gold. Workflows aligned and outcomes measured. In many cases, the biggest blockers and the biggest opportunities sit outside engineering. So whether someone is technical or not, the real contribution in 2026 comes from connecting AI to value through adoption, governance, process change, and accountability. Now, so far, we've talked about how people contribute in an AI-driven world, whether they're technical or not. And one theme keeps coming up: governance, risk, and accountability. And these aren't optional anymore. It actually sets up perfectly for the next force, because when AI starts acting at scale, the security foundations underneath it really matter. If agentic AI is the brain of an enterprise, the report makes a strong comparison. Quantum technologies are becoming the nervous system. Question 5, I go back to August. How would you explain quantum computing in the simplest terms, and why does it matter now, in the future, and why is it very important, not just 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and so forth? Over to you, August.
Sure. So basically, quantum computing is based on the principles of quantum physics, and it allows us to have a larger number of scenarios represented with a single unit of information. If our smallest unit of information is the bit, which only can be a 0 or a 1, qubits, as they are called, are a lot more than that. Yes, that can represent a lot of different states at the same point. So with a lower number of these individual units, you can represent more complex scenarios. There is one very good example that is like, if you want to represent the molecule of caffeine, yes, and everyone loves coffee, and I'm sure we all here in this call drink a lot of coffee. The caffeine protein is very, very complex to represent using just bits, yes, but that numbers drastically reduces when you are using qubits, yes. So I don't remember the exact math, but it goes from 2 to a very, very, very big number to almost 8 bits or something like that. Yes, so 8 qubits, sorry, or something like that. So it's very, very small. So that allows us to represent the reality with a lot more aspects that right now we are trying to simplify because our computers are not able to process that. If we go into the field of AI, that becomes very important. And many of you on the call, for example, may know that when we are talking about LLMs, we are talking about these billions of parameters or trillions of parameters that are being processed every time the model is trying to reach the next token or predicting the next world that it will give as a result. Well, representing that on traditional systems imply all these big deployments of GPUs, these big data centers that are consuming the same amount of power that small cities, and so on. When you go into quantum computer, that can be heavily reduced. So what that matters right now? Well, we are on the last stages of what is called quantum utility, and I invite all of you to see my conversation that we held on Converge with one of the guys from IBM, where we were discussing the stage of quantum computing. And right now we are living quantum utility age, which is we are capable of running quantum circuits, yes, that are meaningful, but it's still not transformative to the business value. And we are entering the age of quantum advantage, which is we are now capable of running quantum circuits that return real business value. So how that translates, for example, we're a pharmaceutical company being able to accelerate the drug discovery process. If we look into financial, well, this could be accelerating fraud detection systems that are less prone to false positives, for example. Yes.
No, and I think, leading and building off of, of quantum, I think the next question is to Daniel, because many individuals are probably asking, what are parameters? What does post-quantum readiness look like? How can I, bridge the gap between where I am to where I want to be, particularly around IT, AI, cybersecurity? So my next question goes to Daniel. Daniel, what does post-quantum readiness actually look like as a career opportunity in 2026?
Okay, so whenever a new technology arrives to the industry, right, it breaks, well, or it changes or it shakes the status quo that we already have, right? So it's, well, some people can be afraid about, oh, I'm going to lose my job or something that, or I need to focus on another thing for my career. And that's exactly because whenever something new arrives, new opportunities arrives as well, right? So it's not just regarding security because of quantum computing, well, we'll break all the cryptography methodologies that we already have today. So it's something much bigger. So it's like programs migration, right? Algorithm migration, or changes how we design the system. So secure by design architectures, we're gonna be, well, on top of that as well. And also a lot of compliance, governance, and digital identity, right? So if I need to say something about the career, so for every people who positions themselves early become reference, not late executors. So that's my advice for them.
And
Can I add something to that, Yuri? Sorry for interrupting you.
No,
yes,
go ahead.
But when you ask me, hey, why this matters now, and connecting to what Daniel was saying, yes, when we were discussing AI maybe 10 years back, or even a bit more, yes, in our case, 13 years back, we were preparing everyone and saying, hey, guys, you need to be aware that AI will transform us, will transform organizations, will transform the way we work. Yes. Quantum is the same. Yes, it transforms the way you think about how you represent. We were talking about how important it is for agentic systems to have a proper explainability around the world they need to operate. Well, quantum implies that now you can describe the world even with more details that you were given before, because you can represent them with these new units of information. Yes, and at the same time, AI will need to learn how to work with quantum. And what I mean by this, we see Claude Code and OpenAI Codex and all these agents, or even our Globant Coda agents around the world that are capable of building software solutions. And they have been exposed to millions of, or even billions of lines of code on different languages that has been produced so far. They have not been exposed in the same manner to quantum circuits, because there are not too many quantum circuits. There are not many quantum circuits that are public, and even they have differences between the current hardware implementations. Yes, they have some specificities to the hardware that you are running with. You don't think about it if I'm running on an Intel or a AMD machine or even a Mac. You don't think about that kind of things right now. But that is different when you go into the quantum world. So jumping into the quantum world, understanding how it works, understanding how building software solutions, what it implies, is very important for everyone in their careers moving ahead. Yes, not only because they may be building quantum circuits, but because they will need to interact with solutions that are built on top of quantum computing. Yes.
The biggest
Oh,
takeaway.
and also,
Go ahead, Daniel.
yeah, sorry. Because yeah, and Agus is totally right. Because whenever something in the hardware level arrives to our technology in our industry, that pushes everything forward. So, for example, that's why I'm focusing on what you should be paying attention around now. For example, today looks like AI. It's instantly respond on everything that you ask for them, right? So, if with content computing, that's gonna be 100 times faster and 100 times better, right? So that's why we need to stay on top today and be prepared for what's come next.
Biggest takeaway, right? From a career opportunity, algorithm migration, secure by design architecture, my cup of tea, compliance, governance, and digital identity. I have a question for all of you, and I want to kick it to Ratish. And it's about, career advice for two groups. The group A, those entering the workforce, those maybe in college now, maybe those trying to pivot and bridge the gap between, being a student to entering the workforce, and then those that are already working, maybe they have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, like all of you. What advice do you have for someone from an early career versus senior? What would you tell them to focus on first? If you guys could take just a few minutes here answering that, and then kick it off to Ratish.
I think whether you're new to the industry, you're just going to get into the industry, or you're still at the college level or the university level, or you have like 15, 20 years of experience in the industry, what I believe is focusing on the fundamentals becomes non-negotiable. These technologies are changing rapidly, but as long as you're thinking in what we call as first principles or in terms of fundamentals, uh, you will still be able to catch on to these technologies very quickly. You cannot lose out on your critical thinking, your analytical thinking. Like, for example, what I tell my daughter who's like 12 years old is, don't get into coding. Don't worry about learning programming. That's a skill that you could always pick up, right? But focus more on math, physics, because these things I think are still going to keep you relevant. And I believe that applies to even experienced folks. Remember, you spent maybe 10, you spent 10, 20 years in the industry. You have a wealth of knowledge. Use that effectively to kind of get the maximum out of these technologies that are at your disposal. I believe for students, they live in amazing times. They have amazing tools at their disposal, and they should make the best out of it. My advice is don't be myopic about how these technologies will probably disrupt the jobs that you currently have, but rather think big and expand your horizon. Think about what are the real world problems that you could solve faster and probably at a scale that nobody has ever seen before. And the advice is across, at all experience levels. I would say the same advice would apply to all of them.
Thank you, Ratish. And this builds on to the next question. I know August is very passionate about this. And essentially, if quantum is changing what we called earlier the nervous system of an enterprise, the next trend is changing its muscle. Let's talk about something very cool. There's movies, there's articles, there's magazines on this. Let's talk about robots. August, what changes when robots move from tools to more autonomous partners? How is this being applied by companies?
So part of the latest developments that we have had on AI, and that I believe will be enhanced significantly by adding computing power, by quantum computing technologies, for example, is that robots will become a daily life thing that we will see on different aspects. Yes, and nowadays even you can start seeing it in some specific cities more than others. Yes, South Korea has a big deployment of robots all over the place. If you go to the US, you will see that many cities are now having food delivery done by those small robots with wheels that are moving around the city. But maybe the robots that we miss to see are those that integrates more naturally with our daily life, like, for example, autonomous vehicles. And I know we still have a lot of work to do in terms of that, but an autonomous vehicle is a robot, and connecting to what we've been discussing before, it's an agentic system. It's a software solution that builds on top of AI that is perceiving the reality through different sensings. In the case of autonomous robots, you have different types of sensors, cameras, lidars, and many more. Yes. You plan on what you need to do next, and you act by turning the wheels, by stopping, by accelerating. And a great example of that is if you go into or look into the keynote from NVIDIA into the CES this year, you will see that NVIDIA released a kind of white label solution for autonomous vehicles called Alpamasia that has been integrated on the latest model from Mercedes-Benz. Yes, and it's an agentic solution. But right now, still because of, again, the limitations that we have in terms of computing capabilities, it has like an underlying software solution that runs in parallel with more traditional ways of taking decisions, because you are talking about an autonomous vehicle, and the time to decision is one thing to consider in terms of how good the result is. So physical AI, as many starts calling robots, is bringing AI to keep on planning and acting on the physical world. It's already transforming industries. There are many pilots running on many manufacturing plants, especially on the automotive industry. And I believe we will start seeing that deploy becoming more massive across the world.
Yeah, and I think ultimately when AI becomes like this autonomous partner, the focus shifts from this isolated automation to more of an orchestration. And then with that said, the real value isn't necessarily the robot or, what is perceived as a robot, it's the systems around it. So it's not the vehicle itself, but it's all of those things that make it autonomous. And, as we transition over here to question number 8, and how we manage robots, what I personally believe, it becomes very managerial. It's when machines start making decisions, someone needs to be accountable, right? Human oversight, HITL, right? Human in the loop. And that someone is often, that someone is often no longer managing people, but managing systems. This brings us directly to the topic of leadership. When new responsibilities and skills does this create for managers when managing robots? And I kick it over to all of you.
So, for example, you have some differences in there. I mean, a robot employee will not complain about, I don't know, their compensations, but they will complain if they lose network connectivity, or they will complain because they are still mechanical artifacts and they can have defects. So in the end, they need to start sending signals to their managers, yes, that they need attention. In that sense, they work very similar to a human being. Yes, humans send signals in different ways when they are disengaged with the work they are doing. Well, robots can disengage of the work they are doing by having physical failures, by having network issues, or even by something that we already explained before when we are talking about agentic works, that is, the tasks to be performed has not been properly described. And that can make the robot fail to perform the task, can make the agentic loop behind the scenes take the proper decision. And that's when we see those fancy robot videos of the robot just standing in front of the door thinking for 10 minutes before opening it, or even failing to, walk properly and just falling down. Yes. The task has not been properly defined. the even in some cases, modifications to the environment have not been properly defined for the robot to have some, rails in terms of where to operate. You can have coloring signals on the floor as you do for employees on a manufacturing plant, or safe places to walk and places that are unsafe to walk. Well, for robots, that kind of things behave in the same manner. Yes. So again, robotic will create new leadership skills on people that right now, for example, is just used to managing a typical human workforce, because now you are talking about a hybrid workforce. And that applies to robots, apply to what we were discussing before of agents deploy on organizations. We're going to be talking about hybrid workforces, either pure software or a combination of software and physical AI, as it's called.
Thank you, August. I think, the biggest takeaway I get from that is that managing machines is managing encoded decisions, and that leadership involves from managing people to managing those hybrid systems that we've been talking about. And now we're ready to, introduce trend number 4. And as we head towards trend number 4, let's just dissect what we've spoken so far here today. We've spoken about intelligence, robots, systems, and machines. Let's move into something that's the polar opposite. Technology that disappears, technology that works so well. You forget that it's even there. This is where intelligence fades into the background, and that's exactly the point. Trend 4 is what we call ambient intelligence. And I want to give this over to my good friend and colleague, Ratish. What is ambient intelligence in the simplest terms? What is ambient intelligence, and how should people recognize it in an everyday life? Over to you.
Okay. So let me take a very simple example. So imagine you're about to step out of your house, and as you get closer to the door, there's a small display on the wall. Let's say you have smart glasses that gently lets you know that rain is expected, because it's checked the forecast and it recommends that you should carry an umbrella. Now, you see the difference that you did not ask, you did not search. The system understood the context and responded. Right. So this, in what simple terms, is called as ambient intelligence. So it's when you don't have to reach out to the technology, the environment, the technology in the environment kind of senses what's happening around you, anticipates your needs, and responds in real time. Right, like you said, without demanding your attention. It's all about reducing friction, freeing attention. And I think the best systems in ambient intelligence are the ones that only help when needed and stay visible the rest of the time, right? That's the beauty of what is ambient intelligence.
And to follow up on that question, right? So if it frees attention, what changes then do we measure value? And what is the kind of work that humans can particularly focus on?
Yeah, so I think what happens with ambient intelligence is that attention becomes a real ROI. And this changes the way businesses have been measuring client or user engagement drastically. So traditionally, what happens is businesses have optimized for user engagement. More time spent, more clicks meant success. With ambient intelligence, you kind of flip the story. Value shows up in moments when you do not have to interact at all. So the way business will have to start measuring is how many steps should we remove? Were we able to avoid interruptions? And were we able to return this time to the user, right? Back to the end customer. Let me give you a simple example that's in the trends report as well, which is in healthcare. Today, clinicians spend a lot of time documenting conversations after a patient visit. Okay, so this is a laborious, time-consuming, repetitive, boring task for the doctor. With ambient scribing, what happens is that these conversations are recorded in real time, converted into draft notes in the background. Thereby, this frees up the doctor's time, kind of spending in doing this documentation manually. They just have to review it. And in turn, it helps them spend more time with patients, which is what is more important for them. Right? So the work that fades is this repetitive, onerous, attention draining, and really boring work for them. What becomes more important in this case is judgment, empathy, decision making, because I strongly believe that these are parts of the work that technology cannot commoditize. Right? So that still remains human. but then the human actually is able to spend more time on these aspects of the work that matter a lot.
And I love how you ended with these human skills, the soft skills, which for me are still gold, right? The golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. And that's where decision making, empathy, impulse control, corporate governance and social responsibility. And that's where it gets very interesting for leaders. When technology disappears, traditional metrics break down. You can't measure clicks, logins, or screen time because the best experiences is when there are none. And this transitioned us to the last and final trend. And one of the important things here is that as we think about closing the loop, where we've touched on machine, time, human value. Let's talk about every role, every industry. And the last tech trend here is AI powered cybersecurity. And I want to give this over to August. What does AI powered cybersecurity mean?
Well, AI-powered security has like many different layers. One is more related to at the time you are developing a software solution, how you take care of making sure that the solution will be safe and secure in the future. So all the activities that can be performed by leveraging agentic AI, for example, to do reviews of the code of the solution, of the infrastructure that is being configured, and so on, to prevent that whatever you deploy later on has any potential backdoors or challenges in terms of security. On the other end, you have also active AI cybersecurity. Yes, AI solutions that are actively looking into patterns, recognizing patterns of potential attacks, and that spans a big umbrella of different things. Yes, an attack could be detected by the traffic that you are having on a website, but also you have ways of recognizing unnatural patterns of how information is being entered on a system. Yes. And that could be, for example, if a human is being threatened by someone, it will act on a different way. If on the other end, an agentic system is being used to attack you, they will be entering information faster than a typical human being will be doing because they can just autocomplete it, basically. Yes. So in both scenarios, you will be protecting against different ways of input of data that you believe are natural in some way to the kind of expectations that you have. This type of cybersecurity also right now faces a new challenge based on what we have been discussed before. That is, now you have agents talking to agents in many cases. Yes. And those protocols are still evolving. And so active AI cybersecurity becomes crucial to understand potential flaws on your security workflows, considering these new kind of interactions that we are not used to have. Because this is for many a new kind of software solution that is being deployed within the organization.
As we protect against these malicious actors, I bring the next question over to Daniel. How do we create that competitive advantage? How do we reframe security careers in 2026 and the careers that will do exactly what August mentioned, right? Learn these patterns, detect anomalies, respond before damage happens. And damage is reputational damage. There could be personal harm. How do we create that competitive advantage? How do we secure companies? How do we secure data? How do we secure people? How do we go from a position of where we could be hacked to how do we protect a company?
So I will need to do or at least explain a little bit of context first, right? So whenever every people here is already talked a little bit with some AI or some LLM, and whenever you do that, you start. The first answer is good, right? But if you keep talking, you think that it's amazing because it looks like a real person is talking to you, and that's when our brain shifts to something that is not good for our careers. Okay, and why is that? Because again, whenever a new secure system arrives, someone in some given time, it breaks, right? Or at least tries to break. And it's not an AI that's breaking that. In the past, well, all humans do that. Actually, a human do that. And because it's the creativity, right? The AI operates in a given expertise domain window. It's not does not have creativity. It just have knowledge based on the training that they had, right? So this is the problem because unifying those points that I already talked, we consider that the AI can do whatever we humans can do as well. And it's not because a new AI that's our system are at risk. But again, it's because of creativity. So AI does whatever it does very good and very fast, better than humans, but but lacks creativity. And that's the point. So if we need to, well, create competitive advantage, we need to understand the system, the whole, not the AI. The AI is just a piece of the part of the system. So I would say, well, security, we're going to be stop being a call center, becomes a growth enabler. Makes sense? So we need to understand the full picture, not just be worried about AI. And that's how security we're going to evolve faster because human is going to be on the loop and on top of the AI. So we are going to make AI our workers, well, workers, right? To build whatever we need to build faster. But again, we need to pay attention on the process, not on the tool.
And I love that. I love how and I'm going to bring the next question back to both you and Ratish. I love what you mentioned in terms of human having that curiosity, right? And I think what makes us human is that ability for us to be curious, for us to have the ability to come up with amazing things that has, been part of our human history. And earlier, Ratish mentioned soft skills, empathy, decision making, impulse control. The next question is a very important topic, and if it comes back to what we call deep fakes, the hiring impact on the market. Today the volatility on the on recruitment, on those joining organizations. Who are we hiring? That virtual and hybrid model, trust is becoming a very technical problem. So the next question to both of you, how do we manage deep fakes in hiring? What is the impact that it can have on the market? And I want to go back to you, Ratish.
Oh, I think it's a problem that we're still figuring out how to solve. Because I think, when we talk about deep fakes, it's about sort of AI cheating you, but humans cheat other humans as well. So we still haven't been able to get around that. But I think in terms of AI systems, especially when you're building a deep fake system, I think as a company you need to come out and talk about it. This is a synthetic human or it's an interface that has been developed by AI. It's not a human interface, right? So that kind of disclaimer has to be put out there because the end users need to be aware of what they're dealing with. But I think there are technologies that are being implemented right now to kind of detect these deepfakes. I still think, in my opinion, and maybe wrong, but they're still far away from kind of being very foolproof. So it's an evolving field. It's something that we will have to wait and watch. Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing, but yeah, it's still fraught with a lot of challenges out there.
And Daniel, and thank you, Ratish. And Daniel, like when we think about in the simplest terms, like proof of humanity, what does that look like in the hiring, right? From verification to the employee experience. What are things that, as companies we should be looking for, right? Whether it's stronger digital verification, looking at behavioral analysis, like what are the things that are going to protect us against the deep fakes, but at the same time show us what proof of humanity looks like in hiring?
Okay, that's a very complex question to answer. But baseline, we need to verify if it's we talking to a human. Well, again, if you're just talking about chat with like ChatGPT or something like that, you can be very well foolish because of the kind of answer, very well structured. So AI or any agent system can mimic a lot of our behavior, but what it cannot really well simulate it's the real behavior of the person, right? So whenever we run out of context and ask something, well, not scripted for the AI, it's gonna break. It's gonna not break in the sense of stop working, but it's not gonna know how to behave. And that's the real point of the hiring process on this new era. Because again, if I do starting asking technical questions for a candidate and then shift to something more personal, maybe the AI cannot answer, or maybe it can, but it's not gonna behave correctly. It's not gonna feel like any emotions at all. And that's the point that we need to take, or at least pay attention right now, because it's not possible to mimic that at least right now. Make sense? So this is the point, or this is my advice that I would say that we need to focus on.
Thank you, Daniel. And I want to, go back just a bit here with August, because August is very much involved in robotics and quantum. August, how do you view this narrative here?
So we need to understand that deep faking traditionally was more thought about how we deep fake a voice or how we deep fake the image of an individual, yes, their look alike. But now we are seeing other kinds of deep faking, yes, like for example, resumes that are tuned to be better perceived by a human when reading it, more suitable to what the job is doing. In the past, we used to do that. I mean, every one of us, when applying to a job, look into the description and try to emphasize on those characteristics that are more relevant to their specific hiring that it was happening at this time. Well, now that has been escalated to also think about words that autonomous systems that are involved in the recruiting process can, score better an individual than other. Yes. So the problem keeps on scaling. What we need to find out is which are those point of failures. So, for example, when we talk about LLMs, is if I keep on having a longer conversation, their performance drops significantly. And there was a recent report done by Microsoft, and I believe NVIDIA was also involved into it. I don't want to lie, but I think it was authored by both of them, that says that the longer that conversation or the interaction that you have with the model, the harder they fall in terms of keeping coherence. Yes, and they drop up to a 39% of their coherence when discussing. Yes, so those are techniques that we can use on our benefits. And when we think about the future with quantum, yes, we need to start thinking how, again, quantum will increase our computing capabilities and have a very good understanding of those potential flaws for those AI solutions and understand where we can leverage them to try to distinguish reality from AI-generated content. Still, as Ritesh was saying, I believe that we will need the people that is generating the AI content to start creating more tools for identifying upfront that content as being AI generated. And as consumers, we will need to start, asking for the individuals producing that content to be very transparent about what is AI and what is not AI of what they have been generating. Yes. Robotics, it's not going to be so heavily affected as of now. Yes. But we need to start thinking that there is a good thing. The same techniques that we use for deep faking are used in many cases for simulation in robots. So that has helped us increase training. If we go back to the cybersecurity challenge that this will also imply is if someone, and this happens already with IoT devices on manufacturing or I don't know, an oil and gas field. Yes, it's a cybersecurity problem because those devices are connected. If someone interferes with the signals that we are capturing from them, they can lead to taking wrong decisions. In the case of robots, deep fakes of what they are perceiving basically or mainly by computer vision. Yeah, so someone interfering with the feed of the camera of the robot and injecting a deep fake video of a reality could make the robot interact in the wrong way. Yes. So it may not affect our recruiting or hiring processes, but in this concept of managing a hybrid workforce, it will affect how they perceive reality in the same way as we do. Yes. Vision is a tricky sense.
Thank you all for that wonderful input. I almost get this like goosebumps thinking I feel like I'm living to the best time in humanity. Things I watched as a kid, movies and books I'm currently reading, have read, and where we are to where we're going with quantum computing, with AI, with robotics. I think the future is it's looking like we're heading towards a very wonderful future, and what that humanity and our involvement with robotics, AI is going to look like. And this leads me to our last and final question. And we've talked a lot here today. So I want the last question to be very personal. And the biggest takeaway I've had is that careers will be less about isolated skills and more about understanding those complex systems we've talked about. We've spoken about, well executed, and these small wins, they build reputation, right? Those small compounding efforts, right? If you add a little to a little, eventually that little will become great. And that reputation creates opportunity. We've spoken about how picking one real problem and measuring that problem, we can then use AI to solve that problem better. So let's make this last question personal. What's one small step someone can take this year, 2026, to build momentum for the world that's coming? And I want to go back to you, Ratish.
Uh, well, what I would say is, like I mentioned this before, right? To pick one small problem, any real world problem. Right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a business problem. Take one real problem, because technology is about solving problems for us humans. And I think the biggest message that I want to kind of relay is that we as humans will never run out of problems to solve. We'll always have problems to solve, no matter how many technologies we have. These will not kind of replace our purpose. They'll not remove our purpose. Rather, they'll amplify our ability to solve problems faster. Right. So when you talk about quantum, you talk about AI. These are going to help in just making our lives better. People, like we always talk about quantum helping create new medicines, helping solve diseases with AI and quantum both. Robotics kind of augmenting the physical work that we do. So I think these technologies definitely will just be help us to kind of solve these problems faster. I want to touch upon another point that we've been talking about a lot in this discussion, is that communication. And Yuri, you are from the human resources side, so you know the importance of communication. I think that becomes super important as we go ahead, and that's something that everybody needs to keep in mind when we talk about communication with agents, when communication with robots. That translates to uh, clarity in speech, clarity in thought. Right? So that is a super important skill. So I think, yeah, it's just take one small problem, define what better looks like, measure its impact, and start building responsibly, right? And responsibility is super important. We talked about all the challenges around the ethics, the concerns that we have with these systems. So every time you build something, think about whether this is going to have a positive effect on society, or is going to be a disruptive effect. So bring in the governance, bring in the guardrails, which you're a big advocate of, Yuri, I know. And so these things will only make our lives better. And I think, and that's just going to make society better overall. Yeah.
I love that, right? Doing things that will make society better. So not just what will make now better, but the future societies to come.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're teaching your daughter mathematics, right? It's kind of that kind of energy and mindset, everyone. And I want to go over to Daniel now. Daniel, how do you view this? Like, what is one small thing that anyone can build momentum for the future to come?
Okay, so everyone here should pay attention on every topic that I already talked, because that unifying all together is the core value for everything that we're gonna build, at least in the future, right? Because again, the basics you have a very good foundation, especially logic, that's gonna help you build better system. If you know what AI can do right now and what could do for you, that's gonna part of your system as well. Put everything together and you build the system around it. And that's the bit of the thing. And that's how you need to use this momentum or this shifting era to understand the basics and the AI and make everything all together. Remember, AI will not, well, discover anything new besides whatever we point that to them. They do not have a creativity. So it's up to us, human in the loop, right? So that's the thing. You do not need to worry about, okay, AI gonna, well, steal my job or anything like that. I'm gonna lose everything that I built until now because of that. It's an era of changing. So you need to evolve as well. So because everything that does not evolve, well, sometime, some point in the future, you're going to be forgotten. So that's why you need to keep moving forward, keep thinking about how your creativity is going to overcome AI, because AI does not have that. AI cannot, well, AI can work in a specific context, but it cannot push this boundary. It does have limits. Like I told you before, AI operates in a given specific domain of a window domain, right? It does not have the full picture. Humans can do that. Humans can associate different contexts, similar contexts from different areas. So that's how creativity overcomes what AI can do faster.
Thank you, Daniel. And finally, over to you, August, who I know is very passionate about this topic. Please.
So I will combine a bit what British and Daniel mentioned, and also come back with a few things that we discussed before. So technology is there to solve human problems. That's basically the definition of technology. We create technology to transform the environment in which we operate and take that as a longer term. Yes, it could be your house, it could be your organization, it could be the actual physical environment. Yes. So technology is there for doing that. I believe that for many years and different ways in which civilizations have evolved, we have moved from everyone thinking on their problems and trying to solve them, yes, and working collectively to solve those problems, to people being allocated to performing a specific task that were defined somewhere else, yes. And so people start executing that without really understanding which is the problem they are trying to solve. If we go into people developing software, I know a lot of very good people that can develop very good code, but they don't really take a lot of attention to what they are solving. So they don't really learn about the problems they are solving behind the scenes. Yes. I know a lot of developers that are very good developers, but cannot describe what they have solved or helped solve as a problem. Yes. At the same time, I believe there is people in many other functions that they just perform the job as it was defined because that's the way someone explained them to do the job, and that's what they do. So if you need to take one step first, is understand the problems that you were solving, yes, either by building a software solution, or if you are, I don't know, an accountant in a financial department, a recruiter on HR, no matter the role, which are the type of problems that you are trying to solve. With that, leverage AI to help you understand how to solve those problems, understand which are the new problems that will arise, as Ritesh was mentioning, because there are many things that will start coming, and as Daniel was explaining, you can start envisioning with a larger scope as soon as you get rid of those things that get you focused on a single task to be performed. And so keep on expanding on that and keep leveraging AI to keep on thinking about solutions for those wider problems. If we go back to the start of the conversation, I already mentioned that the key concept for everyone moving forward is explainability. How you explain, how you operate, which are your problems, how to solve those problems, and think on all the edge cases that those use cases will have to keep on solving those problems sequentially. Yes. So that's for me like the main thing to focus moving forward.
I don't know about all of you, but and all of those joining in, but I get the chills because I've learned so much here today from this wonderful panel, from explainability to black box to human in the loop to accountability and transparency. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me as the host because I got to learn a lot about quantum computing, about agentic AI, Globant's impact in the market, and how to build autonomous machines, which we create these systems that govern that. And the biggest message from this report is not that these machines are replacing people, it's the work itself that's being redesigned across agentic AI, quantum security, intelligent robotics, ambient intelligence, and AI powered cybersecurity. The common thread is this: advantage will belong to the organizations and the people who can turn technology into trust and intelligence and impact. 2026 isn't about hype, it's about proof. The roles that will matter most are not just builders of technology, but leaders of governance, risk, security, product, operations, and human judgment. People who understand AI changes decisions, accountability, and value. We spoke a lot about this. Hiring will shift from credentials to credibility, from what you know to how you think, how you validate truth, how you work alongside intelligent systems, the very systems that we spoke about here today. The real competitive advantage won't come from adopting AI first. It will come from adopting it responsibly, measurably, and at scale. The opportunity ahead isn't just learning new tools, it's learning how these systems reshape leadership, trust, human value, and where careers will be built. A very important item for me is that AI governance isn't about slowing innovation, it's about making innovation sustainable. We spent a lot of time, and the panel spoke about hiring, deep fakes, hacking. As AI becomes more embedded in hiring, healthcare, finance, consulting, retail, and all the different spectrum of organizations out there and in the industries. The real risk is not the technology itself, but how humans choose to deploy it. Without governance, AI can amplify bias, erode trust, and trust is the foundation of everything, and create legal and ethical blind spots at scale. AI governance provides the guardrails, clear accountability, transparency, risk management, and human oversight, ensuring AI systems align with organizational values, laws, and societal expectations. And Ortiz spoke about doing something for the society. The organizations that will lead the future are not those that adopt AI the fastest, but those that adopt their responsibility. Because in the end, trust is the most powerful technology we have. I want to end it there. I thank each of you for being here today. We're all joining in from different parts of the world. Thank you. For those of you on the call, I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck in your careers, and I hope to see you next time around. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you to our awesome speakers for this incredible talk. Our second session is Build Your Career in Data and AI, where we'll explore how to become a data analyst, why data is a top-tier career choice, and how to reinvent your path in tech within the data and AI space. Joining us for this discussion, we have Yotish Jayaraman, Tech Director at Globant and Big Data Solution Architect with over 22 years of experience. He is an expert in architecting data lake solutions, data engineering, automation, and data governance across both cloud and on-premise environments. Isaacson Lopez Samaniego, Data Strategy Leader at Globant. With extensive experience in strategic leadership, she specializes in driving organizational success through effective data utilization. Tomás Teche, AI and data science subject matter expert at Globant, experience in designing data-driven solutions that help clients gain actionable insights and make better business decisions. Anna Skripnikova, lead technical recruiter at Globant with more than 7 years of experience driving end-to-end technical hiring strategies. She specializes in attracting and engaging senior-level IT talent through innovative sourcing methods, competency-based interviewing, and agile recruitment processes in fast-paced environments. If you're ready to lead the data revolution, stick around and drop your questions in the chat. Let's get this session started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Globant Career Week. This experience brings together tech professionals ready to grow, reinvent, and build the future together and focus on one of the most exciting and trending areas in tech, data and AI. Whether you're a student, an intern, or someone thinking about switching your career path in tech, today's session is designed specifically for you. Well, our topic today is about data and AI careers, of course, the difference between a data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist. Also, we will talk about whether data is really a good long-term career choice and how could you reinvent yourself in tech within the data and AI space. Well, before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Anna. I'm here in Peru. I'm a lead technical recruiter with more than 8 years of my experience in end-to-end technical hiring. My work, well, it's actually connecting people, strategy, and technology to help professionals grow and thrive. And I'm here with our fantastic panel. So let me give the word first to Joydish.
Thank you, Anna, and a warm welcome to everyone. My name is Jyotish Jayaraman. I'm a technical director over here at Globant, having over 2 decades of experience in the industry. I've been working on building digital solutions, data platforms on various clouds. It's my pleasure to be talking today with you over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Isa, what about you?
Okay, thanks, Anna. I'm data strategy leader, artificial intelligence strategy leader too, at Globant from 8 years ago, and currently I'm specialized in driving organizational success, so data strategy, leadership, and business transformation. But all my career path was directly by data and transformation in the companies.
Excellent. And last but not least, Tomas.
Hello, everyone. Tomás here from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I joined Globant about 12 years ago as a data scientist, and currently I am AI and data science subject matter expert. I'm currently leading initiatives related to AI in the retail, CPG, and automotive studio. And my job's always been helping companies use a data-driven and AI-powered solution to extract insights and make smarter business decisions.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's start with some questions. So the first one is pretty general and extends from where you see it today, what's the real shift happening within the hype of data and AI? Why are companies betting so heavily on it, not as a trend, but as a core capability? And what will separate professionals who thrive in this space over the next decade from those who don't? Let's start with Jyotish.
Yeah. So that's a pretty loaded question. It's like 3 in 1. I'll start with the first one on the shift. So I think the real shift we are seeing in 2026 is the move from generative AI, where we were amazed with the fact that machines could talk to agentic AI, where we expect the machines to act. Until a few years ago, we were impressed by chatbots writing an email. Today, we are building systems that autonomously manage supply chains, reroute delivery trucks in real time, and even negotiate vendor contracts. So that's the real shift that is happening. Regarding the trend, well, actually, it's not a trend for companies. This is actually a survival. For example, from an Indian context, which the market as vast and complex as India, with 1 billion unique consumer journey, manual scaling is really not an option. Okay. The final part, I believe, of the question was who thrives in this space. Well, one thing is for sure, the syntax era is over and the logic era has begun. Coding is rapidly becoming a commodity. What industry needs today is really people who can look at messy business problems and come out with a digital solution. One has to learn how to treat AI not as a magic wand that can solve problems for them, but as a strategic collaborator that one can direct with precision and purpose. Those are my thoughts, Anna.
Great, thanks. I actually totally agree with you. I also prefer treating an AI as like a strategic assistant, you know, in my daily task rather than someone that can solve any problem I have here. Okay, Isa, what about you? What do you think about that?
Okay, from my perspective, the companies are investing not in a short-term vision, but with a long-term vision in AI. Okay, why? Because they recognize that artificial intelligence can improve processes by managing disruption in a realistic way, not in a fake way. Okay, and how we are doing this? Because artificial intelligence is helping us to reduce risk and enhancing efficiency. Okay, this is important. It's really important to all of us to understand what is an agentic AI, because it's not a simple automation. Agentic AI representative collaboration between employees and clients with the AIs. Okay, enable all of us to navigate and certainly more efficiently. This project is not only impact organization culture, but also need the development of new skill, because we have to redefine the task to achieve the desired outcome. Okay, in this case, this is not, I not understand the artificial intelligence and this new generation of agents like a trend. Okay, I think that we should focus on how to leverage these technologies to maximize our careers and our clients. Okay, so we need to embrace continuous learning and adapt to evolving technologies, because technologies are moving every day and very fast. Each time is more faster the moving of the technologies. So we have to understand how we are going to integrate the artificial intelligence in the workflow of the client or in our workflow effectively.
Yes, that's totally true. And also, I believe that flexibility is one of the key soft skills an IT professional should have, because of the really fast-pacing environment and a lot of changing that is happening year to year. Okay, what about you, Thomas? Where do you think is the real shift?
Well, both my colleagues have already given great answers to the question, so I'll try to add something else briefly. Of course, why companies are adopting, there is a factor, there's a competitive pressure factor here, of course, like, oh, well, everybody's doing it, but it's not just that. I think that in 2026, companies are now past the hype and they are well aware of, okay, yeah, this is really nice, but we need to add value. We need to have something that we can measure, something that we can test, that we can verify, and we need something that scales. It's something that also, I think, it's not a trend, like Isa's just said, because it's something that's also coming from the ground up. I mean, employees are using AI-powered assistants to help them not just write emails, but also do complex evaluations and many more things. So companies have to adapt to this push. It's not just something that is driven by a CEO with a vision. It's CEOs with visions, of course, that's important, but also it's something that's adapted at every level of an organization, and that is super important. And also, like my colleagues have said before, it's multipliers of work. It's not just a replacement, and it's also something that it's coming to a certain level of maturity. I mean, I can compare it with what it was like 5-6 years ago when we still didn't have LLMs and we were trying to build something with deep learning based solutions, and we had some disappointments along the way. But by we, I mean the entire industry. But we are so much more evolved than that. And as a final point, so who will thrive? I mean, it's people who will be able to translate all these problems and all these things that we are seeing in every day into AI-powered solutions that we can measure and that we can safely implement, because there's also a data governance and security aspect that we must not neglect.
Okay, yes, totally. Okay, I think we can move on to like more practical topic, something down to earth, less theory. Maybe you could share with us, Thomas, like if someone decided today that they want to switch career to data, what would be the first 12 to 18 months realistically look like?
Well, that's a great question, and actually something conversations that I frequently have here at Globant. I mean, people will usually come to me and with that same question. And of course, we've seen in this 12 years that I've been here, there's been a lot of evolution. Like I just said, 5 or 6 years ago, we were not talking about LLMs, and now they are everywhere. But they're not just the only thing. There's not the only tool in your toolbox. So I would say that you have to start by building some mastery on the fundamentals. And by fundamentals, I mean data science and analytics in a broad perspective. You must don't worry about being perfect. I mean, and that is a rule for your entire career. Just try to be functional. Try to be able to solve problems. Is it the perfect solution? It doesn't really matter. But if you're able to solve problems, you're having a great start. And then get exposure to problems. If you had exposure to problems, even if you're not a master, that is so much more valuable. If you do not have the professional opportunity to do it, try to do courses, try to look up problems, and even things that you can imagine, things that you can try to design. I mean, in these days, when coding is a commodity and you can have an LLM help you along the way, there's lots of things you can build on your own. And always keep in mind that the important thing is the problem and the solution. So what are you solving, and why would people find that useful? The tool is not as important. You will do it. Use model A, model B, if you use certain algorithm, if you code on, well, Python is the lingua franca these days, but those are secondary order things. What you're solving and who will be profiting from that? What will your clients gain from it? That is an important thing that you have to start building. That mindset is what you have to build. So by the time you're reaching your first year of working on data, AI related projects, you should have that kind of great groundwork on the fundamentals, and you should be moving from learning to contributing. So stakeholders will always be changing the requirements, especially in things that are data driven, where you don't have a certain fixed set of rules to work with. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of uncertainty that you have to learn to embrace and manage and be flexible with that. And that is something that you do not have to worry about day one. That will come at around the end of your first year working with data. So by that time, you will also have a certain amount of projects maybe under your belt. They will tend to specialize you. That's good, but remember not to lose your breadth of scope. Even if you're not a master of things, that could be like forecasting or natural language processing, always try to have at least an idea of what those things are, because there's lots of interdisciplinary things meshing together. Start owning pieces end to end. Also, by your 12th to 18th month, you have to be able to become a reliable partner, that if you're given an AI-based problem, you can own it end to end, from the initial data to the final data product that comes out of it. And you need to develop judgment. You need to be able to answer what can be done and what cannot be done. Don't be just a hype manager. Just say, oh yeah, AI will do everything and anything. We can do a lot with AI, but not with just everything. LLMs are great for a number of things, but not for everything. I mean, there are problems that maybe you can do that with a simple time series forecasting. And just to wrap up, if by the end of your first year, you're still feeling uncomfortable with data, don't feel bad. That is normal. That is it's a necessity that you feel uncomfortable. And after 12 years, I still wake up and find that, oh, there's so much that I need to learn. But that's the job.
like in any career. Thank you very much. I think we can dive into this topic and talk a little bit more about switching careers. I actually, at my work here, more and more that people are trying to reinvent their careers into data and AI. So, Isa, from your experience leading data strategy and transformation in Globant, what really determines whether the transition succeeds or fails?
Okay, I'm going first to say thank you to Thomas because he said about that the tool is not more the more important, and it's showing what we are talking about. Okay, I would advise that to all of us, when if you want to transition into data and artificial intelligence, we need to have a view of the generative AI as a valuable tool. Okay, that support our growth, but not to make the sole focus of our career because in my perspective, data and artificial intelligence professionals should act as orchestration of data and AI strategies because utilizing various tools, okay? Generative AI and other accelerators should alongside other methodologies. So it's not only to use a tool, it's to understand the environment, to use different tools and to adapt to our knowledge and the need of the need to resolve our cases. Okay, if we focus this including exclusively in generative AI, without a solid understanding of data fundamentals such as architecture or traditional AI, can lead us to a precarious career path. Okay, because if you don't have the fundamental, it's very difficult to resolve and to adapt to the change of environment. Okay, so for a successful transition, it's essential to leverage your previous experience, not forget your previous experience. Your previous experience is really important nowadays. Okay, but you have to link and to leverage us while also gaining a strong foundation in data and AI principle. It's not only experience and knowledge. You have to obtain the gain of join both of them. In my case, my own journey has been one of continuous learning, starting from studying statistics, progressing through programming in different languages, and advance my knowledge in artificial intelligence, including machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. I don't know what is going to be the next step. Okay, I always seeking new challenge and opportunities to grow in this dynamic field, and I think that is my best advice for you. Okay, don't stop when you think that you control something. Look for the new challenge.
I like it. I totally agree with you. Well, in the beginning, I mentioned that we're going to talk about data roles. We have right now data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist mostly. So how do you think AI is changing those roles? And what new careers do you see emerging in the next year? Tell us, please, Jagdish, what do you think?
So, so one thing, we all need to acknowledge is that AI isn't actually stealing the data scientist title. It's actually elevating it. We are moving away from the old world where professionals used to spend 80% of their time just manually cleaning data. Instead, we are able to claim that time for something that is high impact strategy. The roles we are seeing today are actually really fascinating. It's a blend of deep engineering, human intuition, and ethical oversight. So that's where we are seeing this shift. Now, for students and for professionals who are now trying to make a move into this space, I would just highlight some of the new roles that is there. Definitely, first and the big one is that of an AI engineer. If the data scientist is the researcher, then the AI engineer is the builder. You aren't necessarily in this role, you aren't necessarily training models from scratch, but you are using APIs, foundational models to build intelligent products like AI agents, which Thomas and others have mentioned. And now to answer the question, like how do you get over there? Well, from a tech stack perspective, Python, LangChain, vector databases, these are the areas where you should be focusing on. If you can actually build one workflow solving a problem that automates a task using AI, then I think you would be the top candidate for that. The second role which I would want to mention is that of a ML ops engineer. So Thomas in his part mentioned about models being able to scale, and that's exactly what the industry requires today. Companies are not looking for models that work on your laptop. They need models which can be used by millions of users and run 24/7. How do you make that happen? That's where the MLOps engineer comes into the play. Now over here, what is that you should be focusing on? Well, Dockers, Kubernetes, cloud pipelines. These are some of the areas where one should be focusing on. Over here, the goal should be to show to the employer that you have designed, you have deployed a model on any one of the cloud, be it AWS, Azure, GCP, successfully monitored it and improvised the runtime and all. So that kind of makes you ideal candidate. The final one, which is not much spoken about, but a very important role, is the AI quality and ethics analyst. I just want to add some flavor from the Indian context. As you know, the government in India has recently passed the DPDP Act, which is for data privacy and protection, and a massive investment in India AI mission. So close to 10,000 crores in that. These initiatives has created a new category for hiring, which is called safe AI. As companies are moving AI into critical systems, these professionals, that is the AI quality and ethics analyst, these professionals are the ones that become the guardians. They test for bias, ensure data privacy, and make sure that the AI isn't hallucinating before it hits the market. So these are some of the roles which I think that is going to be evolved in the next decade. One should be now looking into understanding the data governance or automating of testing tools and understanding guardrails. So long story short, I feel roles aren't disappearing; they're becoming more international. Your value isn't just how much data you can crunch, but in the context you provide and the responsibility you take in the result. That's where the value is.
Wow, excellent insight. And I especially agree with you on the ethic analyst, because actually data privacy, some ethic topics, they're really raising like major concerns all around the world. So I think this role will be appearing soon alongside with others that you mentioned. So yeah, I totally agree. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Globant, what we do here, and how we did reinvent ourselves. So let's talk about AI pods. From an outfield expert perspective, how do AI pods actually work in the real projects? And what kind of opportunities do they create for professionals who want to grow faster and have real impact? Isa, maybe you could take this one.
Thank you, Anne. And I'm going to try to talk about my own experience, okay, managing iPod. During my experience, I found that the key to success lies in fostering efficient and collaboration between member teams of the teams. Okay, and who are the member of the teams? The member of the teams are the physical Glovers and the AI agents, because I like to think of our AI agent as integral team members that require explanation and supervision, not love, but just to be careful with them. Okay, but why I talk about this? Because it's not just about issue a prompt and letting them run on autopilot. They need you be careful with them, you be explanation with them, and saying the thing during the project with the iPod. I can tell you that I work currently with an expert team or RPG SMS expert and or AI agent correctly. Okay, to leverage and migrate over 1,200 programs in a record time. This initiative resulted in a 70% reduction in analysis time and a 30% decrease in develop time. If in real data, we are talking about a project of 3 or 4 years to do a project in 1 year. Okay, what is the key of this project? The key of this project is the team. Okay, I'm witnessing firsthand how the team has come to appreciate the benefit of AI agent and enhancing their time with the AI agent. This approach emphasizes that it's not about delegating and the responsibility to the AI agent. It's leverage our experience and knowledge to maximize development and drive impactful results. Okay, what's the opportunity? The opportunity for us with the AI project is really significant. The AI pod enable us to grow faster by allowing to focus on quality and result while the AI handles more routine aspects, okay, under our supervision. This collaboration enhances productivity and empower us as professionals.
Excellent. Well, AI Pods is not only like collaboration between teams, clients, business. It's also like some career perspectives that you can see there. So Thomas, as an expert in that area, could you please share with us what's your opinion on that?
Sure. I mean, in terms of looking at it from a career perspective, so being part of a pod. So I mentioned earlier when I was talking about your first 12 to 18 months in working with AI and data, I mentioned exposure, right? That you should try to get exposure, and AI pods is a great way to get that, because you get an early exposure to things like decision management under uncertainty, client conversations, and most importantly, the full life cycle of an AI solution from the idea to its actual impact and benefit to our customers. And you're leveraging, so an AI pod will leverage the entire Globant ecosystem. You don't start from zero, right? So all the studios, all the new industry studios, I can speak more directly about retail, CPG, and automotive, where I'm currently involved. But all of the new industry studios in Globant are working actively and intensively in building all this pool of knowledge that can be reused in terms of what solutions work, what doesn't work, things that are trending on different verticals. And all of that, as being part of a pod, you get exposed to that. And that brings you enormous opportunities for learning and enormous opportunities for growth. There was a fear at some point that, there are no room for junior people or for less experienced people in a pod, because it will have to be just a senior architect managing AI autonomous things. And that is not the case, because if it were, you would be shooting yourself in the foot. Who will be the new leaders of tomorrow? I think that pods are learning opportunities, not just for the expert. It's also to get exposure and knowledge about all these things.
I totally agree with you, because I know that Globant actually provides lots of tools that can help you to grow, to strengthen your profile, and to keep up with all the changes and trends in the industry. Well, I think we can close up our conversation with last question to reflect a little bit about you and your career. So when you look back, what's one belief, decision, or habit that actually changed your trajectory in tech, and that you wish you had embraced earlier your journey in data or artificial intelligence? What about you, Joitish?
Yeah, so I was saying, if I have to go back on my career, and I would have loved to meet Thomas and Isa much before in my early days, so that I would have known about these points. I think they were bang on when they mentioned about not falling in love with the tool. That's something which we fall for in early days of a career, where we fall in love with some cool tool, but rather we should be focusing on the problem. In India, there is this word which is called jugaad, which is that is JUGAAD. It just means frugal innovation. I think maturity is using jugaad, the spirit of frugal innovation, to solve a real human struggle, with the simplest possible technology. and not chasing complexity. So Thomas also mentioned about, does this really require a AI LLM model, or it can be solved in some simpler manner? Those are the things what we should be focusing on. So those are the things what people who are now early in their career, they should be looking into. When you stop building generic projects and start solving problems that actually matters, you don't just find a job, you actually find a purpose, which I believe is the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just such an inspiring phrase. You just not find a job, you find a purpose. I really like it. It's a nice touch. Thank you very much. Isa, what about you?
Okay, I would say that it's not a belief decision or a habit or what changed my trajectory, but a mindset. A mindset focuses on three different points. The first one is learning about my college and the new technologies that changed during my more than 20 years of career path. The other thing was not to try to change everything in every moment, but maintain the focus on my data and artificial intelligence career path. Okay, I was always focused in go to data. I like data, I like artificial intelligence, so I will focus in how I'm going to improve my data analysis, how I'm going to improve my day-to-day with these technologies. And in the last point, and I think is the more important one, is the mentality of looking for new challenge. I don't like to be stopped, to be blocked. Okay, when I feel that I know how to do something, I usually look for other challenge. So I think that is the more important. Not to stop because you are blocked, because the situation, because you don't know everything. Look for the challenge and look how to resolve this blockade and go to other thing with the experience that you have, the previous experience that you have. This is my
Great.
opinion.
No, great. Thank you very much. I think it's important also stay always on track, like always stay focused on your career. Thomas, would you like to add something to that question? Would you like to
Yeah.
share something with us?
Well, completely agree with what Kyotish and Isas just said. Share a lot of those sentiments. Let me tell you a bit of a personal story. When I joined Globant, I came not from another company or another industry. I was working in academia doing research. So when I joined Globant, it was my first ever experience of being at the industry. And yeah, so it's a fish out of water. Many things from the academic practice were too slow and inefficient in terms of what the industry required. So my first 6 months to a year was a lot of learning on that. And most of all, learning agility, right? And that's an important concept in software development, and which helped me a lot in terms of maybe the thing I think I would say was my problem, and still is to some way, I have to admit, is the perfect is the enemy of the good, right? So you try to research things up to the latest detail, and because you're fascinated by it, you're enthusiastic, and you want to learn more and more and more, but at some point you have to say, okay, but it's good enough. You need to solve a problem. You're not here to do just pure research for the joy of it. You're here to solve a problem. If this is good enough to solve a problem, yes, okay, well, just go ahead and do it, solve it. And then you can iterate. I mean, that's what agility is for. You iterate, and then you continue delivering more and more value to your customers. But when you're able to deliver value, okay, well, stop and deliver, right? That's something that I wish I had learned faster. But in any case, and just to close, when I joined Globant, I mean, I had my experience as a researcher and PhD, but I was just learning about this field of data science specifically. And initially I thought, well, I'll just do this for a while until I can go back to research. But after a few months, I found that I was having so much fun with data and AI that I said, this is what I really want to do. And I'm super grateful to Globant for this journey of over a decade, where I can say that every day I come here and I love my job.
I love it. I love it. And actually, I enjoyed listening to you guys. And I like that you mentioned that agility, flexibility, persistence are like also most important skills when you want to reinvent yourself and start something new. I really appreciate everyone here for your insights, generosity, and really useful information. Personally, I learned a lot about data and AI and perspectives and in the future of this career. And to everyone watching today, well, remember, you don't need to have perfect background. You don't need to start early. You just need to start intentionally, like Thomas said. Technology, data, and AI are not just careers. Those are platforms for reinvention, for growth, and global impact. Well, as for today's conversation, I have great news. We are actually actively and almost all the time hiring in data analytics and AI at Globant. And we are always looking for curious minds who wants to build the future with us. So, well, stay put, stay curious, keep learning, and start leading your own data revolution. Thank you for joining us and see you in the next Global Career Week session. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you, everyone.
A huge thank you to our speakers for diving into the world of data and AI careers. We explored everything from how to become a data analyst and evaluating data as a career path to the best strategies for reinventing your tech profile to focus on data. What if the secret to acing your next interview wasn't just what you say, but how your brain is wired? Welcome to our fourth session, Habit Creation and Neuroscience Interview Strategies. This talk features Roman Gica, a product manager at Globant with a proven track record of building impactful digital products for both B2C and B2B companies. Roman will show us how to bridge the gap between behavioral science and career growth to give you a competitive edge. Get your brain in gear and stay tuned. We're about to rewrite your interview playbook together. Many people wait for the perfect moment to arrive, but the truth is, opportunities are taken. We have openings right now for those who want to stop imagining the future and start creating it. Check out the link and take the step that can change the course of your career today.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for connecting. My name is Roman Gica and I will be your presenter today. Today we have a great topic for people that do a lot of cool things at work, but feel that they don't appreciate, are not appreciated by their colleagues all the time. So that's exactly what we're going to be tackling and discussing today in our presentation. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'll try to respond them at the end of the presentation in chat, so we can have a meaningful connection, or you can find me later on LinkedIn and ask your question there. With that said, let me share my screen and we can start the presentation today. So, why visibility matters and why it is important to speak up about what you do at work. So before we start, let me talk a little bit about myself and why you should listen to this presentation. My name is Roman Gica. Sometimes you will see me on social media as Roman Gluk. I'm a senior product manager at Globant. I also do startup consultancy and a startup tracker, and also I do mentoring in public speaking, specifically for the IT sector, mainly for conferences and startups. So with that out of the way, let's talk about today's theme, because this topic is something I really like talking about, and it encompasses in one very specific, simple theme, and that's the fact that people are terrible at communicating. No matter where you ask me, if there's one skill that people always need to train and they always need to, emphasize, is the ability to communicate your ideas, your thoughts, and in the case of this presentation, about the awesome stuff that you do. So we're going to be tackling that in this frame of reference. And I want to ask you a question. I want you to think about something. When was the last time you left a feedback to a colleague for doing an amazing job? Or Where was the last time you invited somebody for coffee from your work? Or the simplest thing, or simplest for me, some, maybe not for everybody. When was the last time you made a presentation in the last 6 months? So it doesn't have to be a fancy presentation on stage or anything. Did you do a presentation within the team? Like, did you share something? You share an idea, you share the project success with your team so they can learn from it. Think about it. And with that, think also about the simple fact that we spend 1/3 of our life at work. And my question is, since we spend so much time at work, why not invest in meaningful relationships? We spend so much time, and it saddens me to hear where you have a healthy company and you have a good environment, you have good people there. But some people have the attitude of, well, it's just work. And I don't feel like investing time into that. Like, why should I? It's just work, it's paying the bills. You are like mostly right. Yeah, it's just work and yeah, it pays the bills and everything, but you're spending there 1/3 of your life. So if you are in a healthy company and there's a good environment, why not try to connect with the people? Why not create a good relationship with those people so that you can somehow elevate your own life in a meaningful way? Well, to convince you of that, let's start with the obvious question because everybody's going to ask them this question. Why bother? Why bother investing in relationships? And how does it help you with the visibility of your work? Well, first of all, there's a very simple rule. Good relationships equals a fulfilled life. It doesn't matter where you create those relationships. Is it your past friends from childhood? Is it the new people that you find at hobby clubs? Or is it the people you meet at work almost every day and you interact with them, preferably? Well, studies show that it's actually a good investment. There is my favorite study of Harvard that took 80 years, and the people that were the most satisfied in their 50s and they had good relationships they were actually the healthiest people of all. So it goes to show that good relationships actually mean something. It's not the amount of money we earn, it's the amount of good relationships we have. And there's another study that says professionals who engage in continuous learning, it's a key part of self-promotion, like sharing knowledge, and you get better career advancement. So if you want to be appreciated for the good professional you are, it's not enough to just do the work. Sometimes it's actually, you should do maybe a little bit less work and take the time to present your great findings with your colleagues and share them in the form of a presentation. And 80% of employees say that networking is crucial to their career growth. And I would be one of them because honestly, most of the cool stuff that happened in my professional life is just because I knew somebody and they knew me and I did something good for them, and in return, they helped me. Otherwise, that's how I got into most of the cool things I do today, like public speaking for conferences. At some point, somebody knew just, hey, there's this guy, and it was back in 2014, 2015. There's this guy that knows public speaking. Maybe he can train our people for conferences. And I'm from Republic of Moldova, and we didn't have the exposure of doing conferences back then. So people didn't have the necessary skills to be that good. And ultimately, just with these two simple recommendations right now, I consult one of the biggest conferences in Moldova DEFCON, and I train all of the speakers to be on stage because we want people to share their cool ideas and we want them to be appreciated for that. So all of that happened just because of networking. And you never know what can happen because of that. And last but not least, just to convince you with more numbers, because I'm a numbers guy, and whenever it comes to soft skills or just anything with like communication, like something that's not measurable, you can always find a study that actually proves you the point that it is measurable. And people that are performance winners companies are usually 1.3 times more to move in a higher position and have higher earnings. So people that show their success, people that show how good they are at what they do, are always gonna be in a slightly better position than people don't do that. And how big is that position? It's depending on the market you are, the country you are, the culture you're in. But I can tell you for sure, people that don't, let's say, let's use the very offensive word, brag about the cool stuff they do at work, they don't get that far. It's a lot better. You're fortunate if you have a manager that brags about your successes or highlights how cool you are, but it's not, unfortunately, always the case, and that's why you should do that. Still not convinced by data? Okay, cool. Well, from personal experience and the experience of a lot of people that I don't know, first of all, it's very hard to make friendships after you're 30. Hello to my friend Marcel. That's how we made friends. I straightly asked him, hey, why do you want to talk with me? And he's like, well, I wanted to make a new friend. It's hard to make friends after 30. And we met each other in a job environment. It was a conference. So if you need a friend, actually making a friend at work is a very good idea, especially after 30. Also, friends and colleagues, graceful and giving can people at work be, if it's, of course, healthy environment. You can get salary increases when you know how to properly highlight the value you provide. You can create job security, especially in a market that is so not stable, let's call it like that. And of course, you get professional growth because the more people you know, the more people know what you do, the more opportunity they actually want to throw at you because they know, oh, this guy knows Python at this level. Hey, did you see this new course the company offers and they actually reimburse you for the certificate? Just because people know you do something, sometimes will just give you more just because they know about your successes and what you already do. So new opportunities, finding a job, all of that is thanks to exposuring yourself in a good way, in a professional way, to people in the work environment. And the more people know who you are and what you do, the more opportunities and more good things will happen to you. That's just kind of how it goes usually. So I hope I sold you the idea why it is important to network with people, why it is important to create good relationships, and why it is important to talk about yourself, and how just talking about yourself will get you in a lot of cool places. So let's try to start putting it into a structure. So we're going to talk first of all about company structure. All of us work in a company, in some company, big, small, medium, doesn't matter. At some point or not, or else you're going to work in a company, in a group of people, and that group of people matters. And I'm going to explain why and how. So in a company, the best skill you can learn, and honestly, I'm still getting the hang of it. I have good memory for people's faces, but I have a terrible memory for people's names, and I'm trying to train it myself. So I'll be very frank, I'm not that good at it. But what I did learn is knowing people's names and when addressing them, using their name creates an instant, easier connection with them because they feel appreciated, they feel seen, and it's important to actually try to remember at least most of the people you interact with on a daily basis. And people that you interact with occasionally from the neighboring departments, because people really love their names and they really love hearing their name out loud. So try to take this skill. If you're learning from today's session one thing, try to train this skill of remembering people's names. After you remember people's names, you have to map your organization. And you have to figure out who are the admins, who are the administrators of your organization, who are your direct colleagues that you will interact on a daily basis, and who are your stakeholders. You have to separate people from your organization in these 3 distinct groups. Of course, you can make more groups, but this is the simplest option that I can give you. And you have to understand what is important for each of these groups. What do I mean by that? Well, admins care that you sign all of the documents that they have in time. So if they ask you to go and sign some specific documents because you were on a vacation, you were on a sick leave, you got some trainings that's important, tax return information, anything at all, try to prioritize that for them because for them, time is of the essence. They want those reports submitted in time. And if you're an inconvenience for them, they will not like you. So you want to always try to be fast, be responsive, and help them do their job because ultimately they have to deal with a lot of people. And if somebody's being a problem, well, they really do not like you that much because of that. So you have to know what's important for them. For your colleagues, obviously, For them, it's important for them to know what you're doing. If you're doing dailies on a consistent basis, if people depend on you, if you're let's say you're the designer and you need to do things in time. If you cannot complete something in time, you have to communicate that to them. If you're a QA and you found some problems, but you're not talking about them, and the developers have a false sense of security that everything's all right, they're gonna be surprised when at the end of the sprint they find that there are problems. So you have to know what is important for your colleagues to help them be successful. Like if they need something for their job that depends on you, they need to know that information and you need to know what that is. And obviously stakeholders. Stakeholders is important. What is important for them? What kind of reports? What kind of information? What kind of risks? Maybe it's important. Again, it's all about understanding what is important for them and start to building trust by doing the things that matter specifically for them. And obviously it goes vice versa. You have to communicate to your colleagues, to other people that surround you, what is important for you, so that they can understand what they need to provide you so you can do your job. Also, it's very important in an organization to participate in its activities. First of all, you have to do networking. If you're working in a big organization, let's say, you don't have to collaborate with 1,000 people. No, you have to at least collaborate with 20 to 30 people, like your direct colleagues that you collaborate on a daily basis. If you don't do that, people will not even know that you exist in the organization. Even if you do the coolest thing for the company that brings increase of revenue by 5x, 5%, 10%, doesn't matter. If you don't know the people, they will not know you and they will not know what you do. And that is important. So do input the effort for that, especially if it's a healthy organization. Presentations are also very important. It's a good way to share knowledge. It's a good way to share success. It's a good way to highlight, most importantly, how good you are at what you do. And that is important. If you become a reliable point of information, if you become a reliable professional within the company, you will be asked, you will be promoted eventually because they know, oh, this guy knows his stuff. He knows how to talk. Or she knows this project by heart and she knows how to move this project and make it work. She is definitely the person we want to put in a lead position. So you have to always show your best scenario. And if you can do small in-team or department level presentations, do that. If you can do something more, better. But if you're new to public speaking, start with something small and try to grow as fast as you can. And last but not least, company events. Company events, even though we maybe do not like all of them, you don't have to participate definitely in all of them. Maybe some of them are not to your liking, but at least participate in some company events. And it can be something small. It can be like a board game night. It could be a bowling night. It could be, I don't know, wine tasting night. Any type of team activity that helps you connect better with people creates better relationships. And ultimately, that's what you want to pursue. Because if you're missing from the party, and people do not know you, and maybe you have valid reasons for that, but once in a while, try to make that effort to actually meet people, especially in an informal setting, because that helps create good relationships. I can tell you for one thing, for sure, 10 years ago, I was working with different people. 5 years ago, I was working with different people, but ultimately, somehow, I still meet people that I worked with even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, on new projects, because relationships usually last. The world is very small, and if people don't remember you, well, that's too bad, especially if you're an amazing person. And if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you are. So now let's switch to the more important part. Since I already explained to you how exactly you need to connect with your company, we need to get to the providing visibility on the amazing stuff that you do. So what a lot of people do, they know how to build value, but they forget the important part of showcasing value. And it's a very actually simple schematic. Like you have to do a Venn diagram of the things that you do with the things that you want to communicate about yourself, so that people actually know all the amazing stuff you do. Because if you do only the build, but you don't do any of the showcasing of what you built, then people will not know how amazing you are. If you do the opposite, you only talk, but you don't actually do anything, then people are gonna sooner or later find out that you're not actually producing anything cool. You're just talking mostly. So you obviously need to build stuff. And I'm talking mainly to the people that actually do that, because there are so many cool IT professionals that create so many amazing things that work and provide value, but for some reason, you guys are not talking about it. And yeah, I'm calling you out. You have to talk about the amazing stuff you do, because it's very rare that you have a manager that it knows how to talk about your successes. Because again, remember when I started the presentation, people are bad at communicating, and it's very widespread. And yeah, you can blame somebody, but at the end of the day, if you should blame yourself first of all if you're not talking about it. It's unfair. It's very unfair that people don't know how to, how you say, highlight people that are doing amazing stuff. But ultimately, if they're not doing that, you should definitely be the person that's talking about yourself and showcasing the amazing stuff you do. And here's the important part. Here's what everybody or most people get wrong. Like, it's not about the 500 lines of code or 5,000 lines of code, or you implemented a cool API and so on, or you implemented an automation framework. Yeah, that's cool for people that understand what you're doing, but not everybody talks tech, and not everybody even talks the specific tech you're doing. The thing that you need to highlight is that they want to see what value that provided. So they care that those 500 lines prevented 10 support tickets a week. They care that those, I don't know, 20 hours invested into the infrastructure reduced loading time by 100%. And instead of 5 seconds, it's only 1 second of load time. That's what people really care about. So you can use the, I don't know, amount of time you spent, amount of code you wrote, amount of frameworks you studied, and so on to start talking about it. But ultimately, you have to explain how that positively impacted what you delivered. So the best way is to create an impact log, and you build that impact log across the entire year so that you have something like this. You have, I did action item, which resulted in measured impact for team company. It's not always you can use the exact same formula, but what you have to do, you have to highlight the cool, amazing value that your work created and how it helped somebody. It's not always going to be something super measurable. Sometimes, maybe oftentimes it will. But the important part is that people actually know what positive impact you created with your work over time. And here's the thing. You have to do preferably a summary of the good stuff that you did every day, and if not every day, at least once a week. Worst case scenario, once a sprint. If you have 2 weeks, 3 week sprints, or 1 week sprints, cool. If you have a 4 week sprint for some reason, I know somebody practices that. No shame in that, because some development cycles are long. But in that case, every 2 weeks, you personally are responsible for identifying what good or value you created, and how did that positively impact the project, the team, the customers, the users, somebody. Because if you're doing something, it obviously creates value for somebody, and you have to keep track of that. Because I'll tell you what happens. At the end of the year, when you do your review, you're trying to desperately remember, what did I do this year? And you want to have a better salary, you want a promotion, you want a better job position, you want to be transferred into another project. And you will be asked, okay, why? What of value did you create this year besides what is evident? And this is where this impact log will provide the most important value of highlighting your great achievements. So you're responsible for creating this, not your manager, not your scrum master. It's you. It's you, the person doing the job, because surprise, surprise, you're the person that understands best what value you created with the job you did. And another thing that you can do for your yearly review that's very important, you have to ask and give feedback for colleagues and clients. So obviously from clients, you want mostly feedback, but to get feedback from the clients. Whereas for colleagues, you have to give and take. It cannot be a one-sided relationship, because again, at the yearly review, or just understanding how cool you are, you need to share that. You need to give somebody some feedback, and you also have to ask for feedback. And the important part, you might give somebody feedback, and they might not feel immediately the urge to give you feedback. And that's weird, I know. So you have to also be asking for that feedback in return, kind of very directly, to be frank. Because some people are just shy, and people have many reasons why they do not give feedback. They think they might offend somebody. They think somebody will not like their feedback because they see a growth opportunity, but they don't know how the person will appreciate that or not, or they're going to be mad about it. So if you're giving feedback, or you want feedback in return, or just generally, maybe you just want feedback, be polite about it and ask them, hey, I have been working with you on this project for the last half year. I would really appreciate if you could give me some feedback. Improvement feedback is appreciated the most, obviously, because I want to grow. I want to do better on this project. So don't be shy about asking it, because, again, reminder, people are bad at communicating. Yeah, it's going to be a repeating theme. And if you ever seen my presentations in the past, I always repeat the same thing. People are bad at communicating. So yeah, you have to make the effort. You have to make the first step sometimes. Well, honestly, most of the times. So with that said, what else is important for understanding the value you create? You have to showcase presentations. So like, if you did something good, you achieved something cool in the project, you optimized something, you worked on something for the last 2-3 months that brought immense or even marginal value, but it is value and it is appreciated by your end stakeholder, be it your manager, client, user, customer, doesn't matter. If you can put it into a 15-minute presentation, amazing. Do that, present it to the people that care. Maybe not even in your company, preferably in your company, but you can do that even outside of your company, within a community that you work. Like if you're, I don't know, a Python developer, and you have a Python meetup, and you can talk about it. And all of that you use to gather the evidence for your promotion or review. Be it every half a year, be it every year, you have to gather that evidence. And you have to gather that evidence consistently. And shocker, it's not just for the review, but it's also just for your lovely, as we call it, imposter syndrome, because all of us are constantly doubting ourselves. We're doubting, are we actually good enough? I feel like a fraud. I feel that I'm not deserving of this position. There are many people like that. And if you're one of them, I would make the argument that if it's not for the review, if it's not for the promotion, at least it's for your own convenience and reassurance that you are the professional that you think you are. And you have to convince sometimes yourself that you're good enough. So if you're not doing it for somebody else, at least do it for yourself. But obviously, you're going to use it for your promotion, because why else bother? If I will summarize, everybody has their own formula to creating the yearly review. I'll tell you what's mine, and you can derive from that. We can talk it over in chat. If somebody has better practices, I'll gladly amend this presentation for future viewings. When it comes to me, like, I always go with the simple. I go to my impact log. I track I list all of the values that I have created. I gathered all of the client and colleague feedback. So I deliberately go to people and ask them, hey, I need feedback from you. Did you like working with me? What did I do good? What could I improve? I really appreciate that. And last but not least, something a lot of people overlook is participation and volunteering. If you do any type of additional extra curricular activities within the company or outside of it, you should talk about in your review, because at least in my experience, a lot of good organizations value when you represent them at conferences, you represent them at meetups. It shows that the company values growth, and it shows that the company wants people that want to become better professionals. So if you participated in a conferences, if you volunteered at an event, for example, here in Moldova, we have lovely events like Coder Dojo, or we have First Lego League, where a lot of people from IT sector just go and be for free volunteers as jurors, and they help the kids be involved in tech, build amazing robots. you should share that in your yearly review, because a lot of people, especially good managers, appreciate seeing that somebody's doing something passionate and something cool for somebody else. And ultimately, you have to, in the yearly review, you have to be your best cheerleader. You yourself have to cheerlead and say, I did all of these amazing things. Because if it's not you, who it's going to be? And even if our wives, moms, kids, grandmas tell us we're amazing, they say that because they love us a lot. And they do believe we're amazing. But it's up to us, the person that knows why they're amazing, to talk about that. And we have to put it into words. We have to write it on paper. We have to know how to talk about ourselves. And I'll make a slow transition how to find better ways to talk about yourself nicely. So finding a mentor, believe it or not, is one of the best ways to start appreciating how good of a professional you are. First of all, finding a mentor is a good shortcut to growth. Like, if you do not know where you are as a professional, how high or low your expertise is, finding a mentor is a blessing in the sky that just tells you, hey, you are here. I already understand what you went through, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to go through. So a mentor does a very good thing of telling you how to faster grow, because they did obviously all of the mistakes and they did most of the work to get where they are. So if you find a mentor that aligns with your trajectory of growth and in your professional career, they can tell you exactly what you need to do next. And that's a very cool thing. Also, they're very good at making clear objectives, or even better, helping you make clear objectives. What do you need to do to get the next step, to get the next promotion, to get to a new level of expertise? They help you set that. They also, more importantly, help you avoid making mistakes, because obviously a good professional makes a lot of mistakes in their career, and it's cool when you can avoid some of them. And a good mentor can help you do that, which usually will save you a lot of time, nerves, and sometimes even money. Last but not least, the secret thing: if the mentor is from your company, they can help you promote you in the company, because if there's somebody cheerleading for you and they know what you're doing, it's easier for them to promote you in a new position because you have somebody on your side. So if you can't find a company with, you can't find a mentor within your company, tough, but at least find a mentor somewhere. But if the mentor will be from your company, that will be even best. And it's going to be a good opportunity to grow faster within your company. And hear this, consider becoming a mentor yourself. Because ultimately, if somebody helped you, it's a good, how you say, pay it forward mentality. You have to help somebody else grow, because ultimately all of us are constantly growing. We want to be in better positions. We will be in newer, higher positions ultimately at some point. So you want to leave the ladder, as they say, help other people climb it easily. And here's a little bit of more research to convince you that it's a good thing to become a mentor to grow your career. So first of all, people that have a mentor, they're more likely, 5x more likely to be promoted. Mentors that have mentees are 6 times more promoted. So good organizations actually acknowledge the fact that somebody is a mentor, and they understand if this person can teach somebody to do something, it means they are capable of occupying a higher position. And that's why they're more likely to be promoted, which is more interesting. People that have a mentor are just happier by statistics alone, because they have somebody 25% versus 5%. And but last but not least, you get a good friend in most cases, which is actually a very cool thing. My current mentor is from Italy. Ciao, Marco. And he is a wonderful person, and he really motivates me to be a better person and to be a professional in any situation. And he helps me understand better the challenges that I'm going through. And at this point, I will say that I would want to drink some wine with Marco at just when I come to Italy. Yeah. So yeah, you get a good friend at some point if the relationship is good. And what else? What else can you do to have a better exposure, better visibility, and just Feel more confident and get that skill of talking about yourself better and better each day. It's simple. Go to conferences, meet people, participate as a speaker if you can. You should. Trust me, you should. Only good things happen after that. Take out colleagues to coffee and lunch meetups. It's a very good way to connect with people. If your organization doesn't have any events, well, just organize them yourself. It's very cool. It's very fun. Board games is a good way to connect. Wine is always a good way to connect, or any type of sports is always a good way to connect with people. Try to volunteer. It's always a good opportunity to volunteer within your community to let people know how amazing you are, and people that volunteer are always appreciated. Share your passions, whatever it be: tech, wine, board games, education, IT, public speaking. These are mine. What are yours? You can share them in the chat. Maybe you'll find a friend just based on the hobbies that you have. And they always help you connect with great people, because the majority, I would maybe say, I never counted truly, but I think 80% of my friends are just because I had something fun to do and I shared that activity with somebody. Try to endorse people. Actually, when you endorse people, you learn how to endorse yourself, and that's a very good exercise. Somehow, I don't know why, but it's a lot easier to say nice things about other people than yourself. So by doing that, you can actually train yourself to talk better about yourself. I'll do this exercise with you. I have a lovely, amazing wife. Her name is Nicoleta. Why I think she's the most amazing wife? First of all, because she did a bachelor's in forensic science. There are only 3 universities in Europe that do that, to my knowledge, and she decided to actually go into this field of study. After that, she thought, no, it's not enough. Let me just do a master's in analytical chemistry and quality assurance. And on top of that, why she's amazing and why she's good at time management and just managing her life, she, in the meantime, also works at the German Aerospace Center. So she has a lot on her hands, and I really, really admire her for pursuing so many good things, besides the fact that she also gives interviews. She really loves cooking. Like, she's amazing. So try to take your wife, try to take your sister, brother, or friend, try to talk nice about them. And after that, try to talk nice about yourself. That's a good exercise. And last but not least, to close the session for today, I want to give you some closing remarks and some things to think about. There's a very good saying in our culture: you can go fast alone, but if you want to go far, you need company. You will need people to grow. You want people to hear from you. You want to share about yourself, and you want to connect with people. And you can connect with them when you talk about yourself and you ask about them in return. And you have to kind of remember, there's no such thing as self-made man or self-made woman. We are the sum of goodwill of so many people. So I recommend you to recognize that, recognize it as your advantage, and foster it forward into more awesome relationships, because we as humans, we really connect with people, and that's how we have a better life. Remember the study of Harvard. People that live the longest are usually the ones that have the best relationships in their life. So find cool people to connect with, talk about yourself nicely, always know what to talk about yourself, always promote yourself, not just within companies, but also within your group of friends, or when you meet new people. Don't be shy to talk about yourself. Sometimes it will sound like bragging, but it is important to know how to talk nice about yourself, because when you talk good about yourself, you actually feel a lot better. So with that, thank you for being an amazing audience, for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat. I'll try to respond to you right after this presentation, and we can connect. If you want, say hello on LinkedIn, and hope you have a good day. See you. Bye.
Thank you, Roman, for that fascinating look into the brain. It's incredible how much our habits and biology influence our professional success. I'm sure we'll all be looking at our next interviews through a very different lens. Now, moving from the science of the mind to the reality of the market of AI, introducing our fifth session, Artificial Intelligence Beyond Chat, using agents to potentialize our daily deliveries. We will explore how AI agents automate repetitive tasks to shift the professional role from executor to strategist, demonstrating how to orchestrate these ecosystems to accelerate career growth. About the speaker, Diogo has over 25 years of experience working with SAP as a developer technical leader, service manager, and SAP architect. Let's dive in.
Olá, pessoal, sejam muito bem-vindos. Meu nome é Diogo Carvalho, eu sou um especialista em BTP do Estúdio de Enterprise, especificamente de SAP, e também Head de Inovação em Produtos do Estúdio de SAP da Globant, aqui no Brasil. Eu gostaria hoje de trazer para vocês algumas informações e uma coisa muito relevante, principalmente nos tempos de hoje, sobre inteligência artificial. Então, eu quero trazer para vocês alguns tópicos que são de grande valia para a carreira e também para o dia a dia profissional de vocês. Eu vou começar trazendo um pouco sobre aquilo que nós vamos falar hoje. Inteligência artificial além do chat. É um tema extremamente relevante. Hoje todo mundo já fala de inteligência artificial, só que utilizando principalmente aquilo que está disponível na internet, aquilo como chat, aquilo no dia a dia. O que eu quero trazer hoje para vocês são informações e, inclusive, temas extremamente profissionais sobre como que a gente consegue utilizar agentes de inteligência artificial para potencializar, para melhorar a qualidade das nossas entregas diárias. Então, movendo já diretamente para os tópicos que eu vou falar hoje com vocês, eu vou trazer 3 grandes temas. O protagonismo humano em tempos de inteligência artificial. Hoje em dia, nós temos um papel de executor, seja de tarefas ou de cliques. Eu quero trazer a visão de que nós temos que ser mais estrategistas nesse processo de desenvolvimento profissional com o uso de inteligência artificial e principalmente com o uso de agentes de inteligência artificial. E só um recado, a inteligência artificial, ela não substitui o nosso talento, ela permite com que nós tenhamos um foco maior no que realmente importa para a nossa carreira. Resolver algum problema mais complexo, gerar um impacto real, deixando aquele trabalho mais rotineiro e cotidiano para um agente que possa executar e nos trazer informação pronta, sem com que a gente tenha que parar o nosso dia a dia para executar essas atividades, deixando a nossa mente mais limpa para poder fazer uma visão mais estratégica, que já conecta no item 2, que é esse fim da carga mental desnecessária. Eu consegui utilizar a inteligência artificial e os agentes especializados como uma grande rede de apoio, onde eu consiga melhorar a minha qualidade de vida no trabalho, eles atuando como uma camada extra de excelência, ou seja, tudo aquilo que eu executo, ao invés de eu ter que manualmente revisar ou passar por uma outra pessoa revisar o meu trabalho, eu consigo utilizar um agente que faça isso para nós e que consiga focar naquilo que a gente realmente precisa, que é tirar essa carga mental e chegar no fim do dia com tudo aquilo sendo realizado. E como que a gente faz isso? Então, eu vou trazer um pouquinho de como nós da Globant, utilizando tecnologia e utilizando tudo aquilo que está disponível para os nossos colaboradores, como que nós construímos isso na prática. Tá ok? Então, vamos começar esse nosso bate-papo. Qual que é a ideia aqui? Nós estamos aí o dia a dia sempre pensando em tarefas, em atividades, em reuniões, como está mostrando na nossa figura aqui do lado esquerdo. É um emaranhado de necessidades diárias que nós temos que pensar para executar tarefas, que são os cliques ou as tarefas diárias. O uso do agente de inteligência artificial ou de inteligências artificiais generativas vai trazer para nós uma perspectiva diferente. Ao invés de eu estar sempre pensando na atividade que eu tenho que fazer ou aquilo que eu esqueci de fazer, como que eu posso recuperar, eu vou ter uma visão mais de orquestrador, como nós temos na figura do lado direito. Eu vou ter diferentes agentes para executar tarefas rotineiras, cotidianas, tudo aquilo que realmente a gente sabe que é necessário, mas é muito mais braçal do que estratégico para um agente realizar essa atividade. E aí eu vou orquestrar o uso desses agentes. Então, vou utilizar, por exemplo, agentes que descrevem reuniões de uma maneira mais sucinta, que geram listas de ações após reuniões, ou que validem uma informação que eu acabei de gerar, que é extremamente complexa e estratégica, com base em outros conhecimentos, ou até mesmo em documentações ou do cliente ou interna nossa. Então, o que eu quero trazer é justamente essa provocação para que nós reflitamos sobre o uso do nosso dia a dia com agentes de inteligência artificial para aumentar a nossa capacidade estratégica dentro da companhia. Isso tem um ganho muito grande com relação a tudo aquilo que se refere à estratégia da empresa. Então, se eu tenho muito mais tempo para pensar numa solução complexa para um cliente e posso deixar o meu agente gerando documentações ou gerando resumos de reuniões online, eu tenho mais tempo estratégico para dentro da empresa. E é isso que a gente busca, esse próximo passo dentro da carreira. Qual que é o nosso diferencial? Como que eu consigo me diferenciar dentro desse mundo moderno com o uso de inteligência artificial para todo lado? Mas como que profissionalmente eu consigo fazer isso? E pensando numa visão de como que eu vou gerenciar esses agentes? Porque eu posso desenvolver e possibilitar diversos agentes para trabalhar no meu dia a dia. Mas como que eu vou orquestrar? Como que eu vou garantir com que a entrada de um agente tenha sucesso na saída desse conteúdo para ser utilizado ou por um outro agente ou por nós mesmos, né? Então, essa que é a grande diferença. E, novamente, nós somos protagonistas nesse processo. Não é porque eu vou deixar ou eu vou configurar um agente para realizar uma ação que eu faria isso diariamente, que eu estou deixando de fazer algo. Eu estou, na verdade, liberando tempo meu durante o dia para poder pensar estrategicamente como que eu melhoro, seja um processo interno, seja uma solução para um cliente, seja uma visão diferenciada de uma solução ou um desenvolvimento complexo no meu dia a dia. Então, esse que acho que é a grande questão de início, a gente mudar a nossa visão de pessoas que apenas fazem os cliques ou executam tarefas para orquestradores de agentes, para o uso de agentes no dia a dia. E isso já conecta com o próximo item, que é pensando nessa carga mental, ou seja, eu já tenho que pensar o dia inteiro, qual que é a minha próxima reunião, qual que é o meu próximo entregável. Todo mundo tem essa sensação ao final do dia de exaustão. E às vezes isso vem junto com, mas será que eu consegui gerar tudo aquilo que eu precisaria gerar? Ou seja, não é só uma exaustão sobre o processo de trabalho durante o dia, mas será que realmente eu consegui gerar os produtos necessários? É como eu mostro do lado esquerdo. Eu tenho diversas atividades que deveriam ser feitas, que isso gera uma carga mental diária para nós, tanto para as nossas equipes quanto para nós, que eu poderia, por exemplo, utilizar a inteligência artificial como uma camada de excelência. Tudo aquilo que eu tenho de geração que pode ser executado ou automatizado por um agente, nós vamos desenvolver algo que possa ser aumentar a qualidade de entrega. Acho que esse é o grande ganho é eu conseguir liberar minha mente durante o dia para poder pensar em temas estratégicos e ter o agente como uma camada de excelência. Ele valida para mim um desenvolvimento, um produto feito para um cliente antes de enviar para o cliente. Ele verifica se aquilo que eu desenvolvi está de acordo com os padrões de qualidade disponibilizados ou pelo cliente ou padrões de mercado de desenvolvimento. Então, o uso de agentes para dar essa visão de excelência e de qualidade antes de entregar eu acho que gera um grande impacto, porque eu consigo, com menos tempo, gerar algo que é muito mais estratégico, mas que vai continuar com uma qualidade na entrega. Erros, ou aquele medo do erro profissional para realizar alguma ação, para realizar alguma tarefa, porque eu sei que ao final do dia ou ao final da minha tarefa, eu vou ter um agente que foi treinado, que foi validado e pode constantemente ser refinado para validar aquilo que eu estou fazendo. Então, eu consigo ter uma segunda camada de qualidade para garantir que tudo aquilo que foi desenvolvido durante o dia, alguém ou um agente vai validar o que está sendo feito. Então, eu conecto esse protagonismo de gerar esses ativos em agentes, podem ser agentes especializados, ou pode ser inclusive um fluxo agêntico, onde eu conecto diversos agentes para garantir a qualidade necessária na entrega. Vou dar um exemplo. Em projetos SAP, nós sabemos que dentro de um projeto, a equipe tem diferentes papéis. Nós criamos agentes especializados para cada papel, obviamente com a carga de trabalho específica para uma automação, onde eu consigo garantir que eu sempre vou conseguir trabalhar em cima do template do cliente, porque eu tenho um agente que cuida de templates sempre me guiando, não vai deixar eu sair fora do template. Então, é uma coisa a menos que eu preciso me preocupar no dia a dia. Eu tenho um outro agente que tem todos os padrões de qualidade de entrega do cliente, ou os padrões internos, ou os workbooks de desenvolvimento. Então, eu sei que tudo aquilo que aquele agente falar comigo, ou falar com a minha equipe de desenvolvimento, está aderente à necessidade daquele cliente. Então, obviamente, nós fazemos um refinamento, uma validação das entregas, mas eu consigo ter menos pressão ou menos um medo operacional de ter uma entrega falha, porque a minha qualidade está sendo garantida com um processo agente. Acho que isso é bem interessante para a gente conseguir fazer nesse processo de mudança, de sair de um protagonismo de cliques, entrar num protagonismo de um orquestrador de agentes e conseguir baixar essa carga mental que hoje a gente diz que é desnecessária, mas que sempre foi extremamente necessária para garantir qualidade. Agora ela se torna desnecessária porque eu tenho meios, métodos e processos que eu consigo garantir a mesma qualidade de excelência, mas com menos carga mental da pessoa humana, transferindo para um agente de inteligência artificial, tá bom? O último tema que eu queria aqui trazer para vocês, como que nós fazemos isso, né? Então, é um laboratório real, como que a gente constrói isso, né? Diferente de você ter os produtos criados, aqui eu falo desse papel estratégico de como que a gente consegue liberar nossa mente para desenvolver esses agentes e entender que no dia a dia funciona da seguinte maneira. Hoje nós temos uma plataforma onde eu consigo desenvolver esses agentes, uma plataforma que possui treinamentos internos, uma plataforma que está disponível para todos os colaboradores, onde eu crio os agentes conforme a minha necessidade. Então, eu que sou do estúdio de SAP, desenvolvi agentes que me ajudam em projetos SAP ou em iniciativas, no caso de inovação, de SAP. E esse processo passa pelo entendimento, a experimentação da plataforma, todos os ajustes necessários e refinamentos desse agente e um processo constante de alinhamento e de refinamento desse agente. E futuramente eu posso disponibilizar esse agente para o uso do meu próprio estúdio. Por exemplo, nós criamos agentes de inteligência artificial para projetos de SAP, onde foi desenvolvido de maneira dentro de um cliente, mas que a gente consegue expor isso para todos os clientes, obviamente, garantindo todo o uso de informação restrita para cada cliente, utilizando as suas informações de padrões de desenvolvimento, workbooks de construção, padrões de qualidade, cada cliente tem um padrão, e ele entra exatamente neste loop. Então, os colaboradores eles desenvolvem esses agentes, inclusive por conta própria. Tivemos um caso internamente onde o colaborador criou um agente para ele, para ajudar no resumo de reuniões, para ajudar na construção de lista de tarefas pós-reunião e que foi incorporado no processo do projeto, porque ele ficou de uma maneira tão prática e conseguiu baixar essa carga mental de fazer anotações, de gerar listas, que nós decidimos incluir isso dentro de um processo em escala já no projeto. Então, isso é o laboratório real. Aqui é onde essa teoria que nós falamos no começo, sair de um executor, seja de cliques ou de tarefas, virar um orquestrador de agentes, tirar essa carga mental desnecessária, novamente, como hoje ela é desnecessária, mas sempre foi muito necessária para garantir qualidade, como que eu faço isso na plataforma? Então, nós temos uma plataforma onde eu consigo gerar todos esses ativos e consigo compartilhar isso com todo o ecossistema interno da Globant. Então, Então, esse é um grande diferencial. Não só trabalhando com plataformas de mercado, nós temos a nossa própria plataforma, que é o Globant Enterprise AI. E essa é a mensagem final, conectando toda essa mudança de carreira, onde eu saio de um papel mais não tão protagonista, mais protagonista, mas com maior carga mental no dia a dia de trabalho, para um papel mais de orquestrador, uma visão mais de estratégia, ou seja, aonde eu consigo colocar agentes que me ajudem no meu dia a dia? Quais são as tarefas do meu dia a dia que eu consigo colocar para um agente realizar uma validação, realizar uma automação para garantir aquele tipo de informação chegue? Então, por exemplo, imagina você estar no seu dia a dia e todos os dias tem que informar para um cliente o status do seu processo de construção. Você já faz uma reunião com o seu time, você já recupera todas essas informações. Você poderia automatizar a disponibilização desse quadro final, por exemplo, poderia ser uma página com um quadro final, através de um processo agente. Desde que você faça todas as cerimônias e gere todos os ativos, esteja disponível, o seu agente pode pegar no final do dia e enviar isso para o cliente. Eu já fiz um caso assim, onde nós enviávamos um dashboard final para o cliente com toda a atualização do dia para o cliente estar sempre informado dos avanços do projeto. Então, basta você pensar, tudo aquilo que eu faço hoje, o que, que eu posso automatizar, mesmo que seja um pequeno pedaço. Vocês vão ver que dá uma diferença muito grande na visão estratégica de como construir esse ecossistema de agentes de inteligência artificial e como que você pode melhorar e baixar essa carga mental sobre quais são as tarefas que eu tenho que fazer, o que será que eu perdi hoje, qual reunião que eu tenho que entrar, tenho que anotar tudo que está sendo falado na reunião e trocar por o que eu posso automatizar dentro do meu dia a dia. Acho que esse é a grande mudança, a grande provocação hoje do uso de inteligência artificial e que eu gostaria de trazer para vocês. É essa visão de utilizar a inteligência artificial não apenas como um chat, não apenas como um bate-papo, quero saber sobre isso, me informe sobre isso, mas utilizar para melhorar o nosso dia a dia, aumentar a qualidade daquilo que está sendo entregue, sem tirar a pessoa humana do processo, mas a pessoa humana como um agente orquestrador. E aí nós terminamos. Queria agradecer demais essa oportunidade para falar um pouquinho sobre esse processo de utilização de inteligência artificial no dia a dia, na nossa carreira profissional. E muito obrigado e até mais.
That wraps up our first day. Thank you for joining us and for your interest in today's sessions. Tomorrow, we continue with day 2 of Career Week, and this time, all sessions will be conducted entirely in Spanish. We'll keep exploring career transformation, so don't miss out. See you tomorrow!